YankeesFiles podcast. We are back. I'm Will Harris, you're Alec Whipple, and the rest of you are fans of the team that has the most wins and the best run differential in the American League. That team, of course, is the New York Yankees. Whipple, we've got a lot to get into from a 4-2 week with series wins against who's that one team? Forget, they play in some like terrible city.
I mean, it's applicable to both Houston and Tampa.
That's actually a great point. So a great series win at home against the Astros to go 6-1 against them this season, and then a series win on the road, catalyzed by a big Gleyber Torres home run to finish off the week in Tampa. But first, Whipple, whom I saw in person on Friday for the first time in a while. How are you doing?
We saw each other with guest friend, relative of one of the podcasters, Cynthia Whipple. The three of us enjoyed a great brunch at, what was that, Needs Bakery in Baltimore?
Needs Cafe and Bake Shop, absolutely.
I will say on my drive home, I don't know if I could have made it the whole way. It was the bright spot in my day with bad traffic and bad weather, but it's always good to see you. And especially in the middle of a great week of baseball. And I will say, there was a point yesterday in which I was like, are we going to have one of those podcasts where you're ready to go with some positivity and optimism, and all of a sudden we're looking at a collapse of pretty epic proportions? And I'm happy to say that we did not have to have that. We don't have to have that conversation. We don't have to have the Gleyber Torres conversation, because I think one of the things I was thinking about yesterday is it time to start having it? And maybe it will be, but I feel like Gleyber has at least earned, pushing that off, waiting further examination of his performance. And in terms of momentum shifts, I think that was one of the bigger home runs in the season, just because it seemed like we had seen that movie before in terms of how yesterday's game played out. And the movie was a lot better than the one we had seen previously. So I think all of that chaos and positive, negative, positive, it adds up to a pretty good week of baseball. Like, taking what happened yesterday out of the equation, it was a 4-2 week. Some good, I'd say, I don't know, laughers. I'd say some of those Houston wins were laughers.
Certainly laughers, yeah.
So, some disappointing games in the middle, but at the end of the day, you're trying to win series. And because the Yankees did not blow yesterday's game, they won multiple series this week against two pretty good teams. And it's hard not to be happy about that. I think we're getting to the point of the season when, the excitement of the beginning, return of baseball is gone. You're kind of settling into not the dog days, but just the heart of the summer. And I think the Yankees have really found their stride in the last few weeks. It's been really exciting to watch them. I'd say ever since the second game you went to, they've really found that beginning of the season magic again. And I'm excited to talk about it, excited not to talk about, a disaster yesterday, and excited to talk about a team that, as it stacks up, I think is at the class of the league right now. And in mid-May, that's a pretty good place to be in.
So a couple things. First, your comment about Gleyber's home run made me think, hey, I should look up where that ranks in win probability added for Yankees home runs this year. And it's basically middle of the pack. It was worth 0.13. The Yankees were ahead. It was the 8th inning. The win probability there when you're winning in the 8th inning is already quite high. So it's hard to add a bunch to it, of course.
Hey, a 1-run lead at Tropicana Field, though, like, spiritually, I know the stats don't say it, but that does not feel like, it feels like you were tied and maybe even set up to lose, especially given the events of the inning prior. So WPA does not take into account vibes.
Absolutely. But it raised an interesting point to me to, conducting this search, which is, do you know which home run hit by a New York Yankee this year has the highest win probability added? Because it's not the one that I thought it would be.
So it's home run. Because I feel like hits, I was thinking
home runs.
Okay. I was thinking of the Stanton double a few weeks ago. I'm going to say Was it Verdugo's in Arizona?
So that's the one that I thought it
We're
would be.
thinking of. Okay, wait, let me get one more guess, see if I can get the right
Okay.
one. Late innings.
The
Home run.
Verdugo one is second. We're looking for 0.32. Verdugo was 0.31.
Soto's against Tampa could not be it because I think they were winning at that point. Because that's the other one I was like kind of on the tip of my tongue. I'm gonna say
that's not. That was the Soto off Chris Davinsky was 0.15. So very, very similar actually to the one that Glaber hit.
Oh geez. Was it Stan's in Toronto? But that didn't tie the game. Okay. Stan's in Toronto, I think, brought them within a run. So I feel like that could be it, but I don't. That'll be my guess.
Stanton in Toronto only 0.09.
All right.
Just because it was late and they were still losing.
Right.
The most impactful home run by a New York Yankee this year by win probability added is Trent Grisham's 3-run home run in the 4th inning in Milwaukee. I think what you have to think about is flipping from losing to winning does really big things for win probability. So the Yankees went from down 4-2 to up 5-4 on that home run. Verdugo's, of course, tied to winning. Stanton's grand slam off Bowden Francis is third, tied to up 4. And then Oswaldo Cabrera game tying home run off Brian Abreu is 4th. And the Oswaldo Cabrera home run that I saw off Burns is 5th. So anytime you're giving the team the lead, those home runs do pretty well in win probability.
Could you look and see the hit now that we're just down this rabbit hole? The top hit?
Sure. Let's see. So if I switch from home runs to hits, what is your guess?
Okay. So it's got to be is it a hit that they brought him from down to leading?
Let's see.
Because I feel like the Stanton double, the Tigers would be like my.
That's it.
Okay. Because I think tying the game in the 9th inning when you're down is like that's up there.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because the Yankees haven't had like any crazy walk off 3-run home runs down 2.
Yeah. So that one was 0.4, and then the two that are 0.39 are Volpe double off Clase to score Oswaldo. In a game that I think they ended up losing, right, in extra innings.
Yep.
And then Judge off Meza,
right,
to give them the lead in that inning that we were just talking about. Soto off Hader, only 4th on the list, interestingly.
Because they were tied?
Yeah, I guess so.
Interesting. So why is that different than Judge off Meza? Because they were also tied.
I think it has to do with the resulting base out state and how the run expectancy from. So, for example, with Soto, you ended up with a runner on first and 2 outs. Mm-hmm. So in that resulting state, you're not likely to continue to increase the win probability. It might be something like that. I'm not totally sure.
Because Judge scored 2 runs. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, Judge scoring 2 runs is definitely important. Yeah, that must be what it is, actually. Right. Yeah, I forgot that 2 runs scored on that. Anyway, so
visit at the end of the year because I always think those are interesting.
Yeah, we definitely should. So shout out to Giancarlo Stanton, who, if it weren't for StatCast, nobody would know about, having the highest win probability added hit of the Yankees year thus far.
Yeah, I really needed StatCast to tell me that double was hit hard in the 9th inning and had a lot of impact.
That was crazy that someone would say without StatCast you wouldn't know who Giancarlo Stanton was.
I feel like people just forgot about how good he was, even on the Yankees. Like,
2018 Giancarlo Stanton is a wildly underappreciated baseball player.
And 2021, for what it's worth. They were not.
2021 probably by more. Yeah.
Yeah. For the first 4.5 years of his Yankees tenure, he was very good when healthy.
Yeah. You want to talk about someone else who's very good when healthy?
That could be a lot of people.
Yeah, it's the
Because
captain of the New York Yankees, Aaron Judge, who had a 90 WRC plus at the end of play on April 22nd. What do you think his WRC plus is since then?
195. 210. 240.
220.
Oh.
So Aaron Judge, I mean, he's just been phenomenal since April 23rd. He's hitting 313, 446, 701 with a 17% walk rate, 19% strikeout rate for a 220 WRC plus. In his last 84 plate appearances, that's brought his season WRC plus from 90 to 147. He's now, I think, 3 off the major league lead in home runs. So we'll see how long it takes for him to catch up there. Like, the notion that something is seriously wrong, as one notable ex-blogger phrased it, or that Aaron Judge needs to be sent down, or that he must still be hurt. You know, it turns out guys slump sometimes. And when you have, I don't know what that would have been, like 104 plate appearances with a 90 WRC plus, and you're the best hitter on the planet, you can end up coming back from that. I don't know if you're aware of this, but you can really pull that off. So Aaron Judge, since that date, has been Aaron Judge. And I mean, it's borne out in the improvements that the Yankees offense has made in that time. They're now, they have the highest WRC plus in the American League, the second highest WRC plus in baseball. They are now second in homers to the Orioles. I would love to see them get that up. They're second by hundredths of a point to the Dodgers in walk rate. Everything you'd want the Yankees to do offensively, they're doing now. Like, our only gripe was they're not slugging. And sure, you know, every team has games in which they kind of get shut down, and the Yankees had a couple of those this week. But if you told me I could sign up for a 118 WRC plus for the rest of the season, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and I think with Judge, I mean, it was so obvious that it was really like a mechanical or timing, or it was nothing related to stuff he couldn't do. Like, it was the most painful thing to watch him foul off very hittable pitches, because you knew that, like, he was seeing the ball well and he was just missing them. And I think people don't accept that as an excuse, or they get frustrated. And instead of acknowledging that's frustrating, but acknowledging it can turn around, start to try to identify some, like, more, I guess, satisfying reason that will, like, show there's an issue there, versus like he's going to turn it around. I mean, it's Aaron Judge. Like, this isn't, you know, a random outfielder we're talking about. This is the best player in baseball, or one of the best players in baseball, who has shown a capability of hitting at his current level for the entirety of a season. I mean, his 2022 season was essentially this, you know, 95% of this current hot streak, which is actually crazy to think about what that means.
Insane.
Yeah, but Aaron Judge was always going to be okay. I would not be surprised if, you know, stuff was bothering him if he wasn't playing healthy, but, like, nobody is fully healthy in a baseball season. And it's just a question of, is it going to be something that you need to rest? Is it, you know, surgical? Anything that's really going to derail you? Clearly the answer was no. I don't think the New York Yankees are going to keep running Aaron Judge out in center field if the answer is no. I think the biggest tell that there wasn't anything seriously wrong is that the fact that he kept playing center field when they had Trent Grisham, when they clearly could have DH'd him or given him days off his feet. I mean, we've seen a lot of, Aaron Judge needs some time off his feet. Like, this is not anything new for Aaron Judge, and we weren't getting that. And I think, to me, that shows the lack of concern and the fact that it really was something that he could turn around. And like you said, the results were pretty clear, and the offensive output, I mean, they've scored 10 or more runs like 4 or 5 times in the last 2 weeks, you know, doing it. I don't think they hadn't done it since like last July or something. So
I don't think they did it once in 2023.
They scored 10 runs once.
I'm checking right now. I'm pretty sure the stat was that they hadn't done it since 2022.
I think they scored it in like a game in Oakland or something. I thought that was like, well, you'll have to check the stat, but
yes, they did. It was 15 runs that I was thinking about in Milwaukee. Yeah. So the most recent 10-run game So they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 last year, it looks like. And the most recent one was June 29th. So they did it on back-to-back days in Oakland, one of those being the Herman perfect game, and then didn't do it again until Milwaukee. And then they did it, you know, multiple times in that series, obviously, and then multiple times this week, which is pretty good.
I mean, there's really nothing that I think this team is going to accomplish without Aaron Judge firing on all cylinders. And for the fact that he's seeing the ball well, the fact that the power is coming up, like you said, the WRC plus trending in the right direction, it really won't take that much more for his numbers to get back in range of like 2021. I mean,
yeah,
who knows?
For sure.
You know, he doesn't have to be 2022, 23 Aaron Judge to be an impactful player. And right now he's leading Major League Baseball in walks. And I think that combined with the power that he's showing, like we had the debate at the beginning, is Judge or Soto the better hitter? You know, is he the MVP? The fun part is that we can talk about both. I think so far Soto has been better, but I think in the last 2 weeks, I mean, it has to be Judge. And I would love to see this become even closer, because that's just going to mean the Yankees are going to keep on winning. I mean, it is, the formula for them winning is clear as day right now. And these games are so fun to watch. Like, I've never had as much fun watching like a 10-4 blowout win over the Astros. But when you see Juan Soto go opposite field 440 feet, I mean, what was that?
That was
like?
Unbelievable. Like, and
right.
Sure, it's like, okay, maybe Giancarlo Stanton will do that. Maybe Aaron Judge will do that. I think, and we'll get into some bat speed stuff because those metrics just became public. Like, Juan Soto's average bat speed is only 0.4 miles an hour slower than Aaron Judge's. Like, I don't think it was obvious to everyone that Juan Soto had the kind of game power that he has shown this year. Also, and look, I could be wrong about that. I'm open to that, but Juan Soto has hit some balls to some places that it was not obvious to me that he could reach. And he's not on pace to hit many more than 35 home runs, and he hit 35 home runs last year. So it's not about the frequency, but just the magnitude of some of the balls that he's hit has been really impressive.
And you said, sorry, I was going to say, you were doubtful about Juan Soto leveling up. I feel like there is some evidence that he might be leveling up.
There is some evidence that he might be leveling up. What I will say, and you know, strikeout rate is down. He's walking more than he strikes out. He tends to walk more than he strikes out, but he also tends to walk more than this. I'm not totally sure what we're seeing there. A 173 WRC plus for Juan Soto, which is what he has right now, would be a career high in a full season by a few points over 2021. That would be very, very, very exciting. By the way, do you want to see the non-Giancarlo Stanton home run hit by a Yankee with the highest bat speed this year?
Sure.
Do you want to guess which one it is?
It's someone probably surprising. Is it?
It's not Oswaldo Cabrera. That would be surprising.
Is it the Jahmai Jones home run?
Imagine if it were.
Okay. Let me take a actual guess.
Okay.
I think it's Juan Soto in the Tampa game. God. You just tell me. Oh my God, I got it right.
Drill deep to right field. There it goes.
Wow, I actually got that right.
You did get it right.
And I was about to completely back off it.
Just take a look at this bat speed.
I mean,
I guess it looks fast. I don't really like, I was looking at the leaderboard that it produced. So the Stanton home run off Eric Swanson that we discussed earlier, he swung his bat 87.8 miles an hour. That Soto ball was 83.3. Like, it's not, I was looking at like the fastest swing they have on record this year, which was an opposite field base hit by Matt Chapman. Like, it wasn't obvious to me that that was the hardest or the fastest swing I had seen by any means. But anyway, it does go to show I felt like I had a pretty complete appreciation for Juan Soto and what he brought to the table. And it turns out there's more there that I didn't quite realize, which is very exciting. And yeah, dude, Aaron Judge has just been incredible. And I think just so many of the narratives were so silly. Remember when people were saying, like, is Judge playing poorly because he realizes that Soto is the guy now and he doesn't know what to do about it? Like, I regret to inform you, Aaron Judge is the guy. Like, Aaron Judge is the guy. And Aaron Judge is the guy with the 200 WRC plus season. Aaron Judge is the guy with the 62 home run season. Aaron Judge is the guy with the MVP. And it's great to have them both. And I am extremely excited for what both Aaron Judge and Juan Soto will do over the rest of the season. And I'm checking right now to make sure. I do think some of the projections, they're projected to be pretty similar hitters over the rest of the season, and for Soto actually to have more WAR, which would be interesting. But like, what a great thing to have two players who are this good. I feel like it's kind of the culmination of the Judge Stanton vision in a lot of ways. Like when Judge was coming off his 2017 season and Stanton had just hit 59 home runs, and they put him together. And then, you know, between health and getting hit by a pitch and, you know, a whole, you know, confluence of factors, we never quite got to see peak Judge and peak Stanton together. Soto is obviously a different player in many ways than either Judge or Stanton, but I do feel like this was the vision, and getting to see just two guys, MVP caliber, top of their games, doing what Judge and Soto right now are doing. It's really exciting. And I don't know when I would consider the last time that the Yankees had something like this. Like, is it obviously A-Rod wasn't healthy for all of 2010. Maybe it's like 2010 A-Rod and Teixeira. Like, it doesn't, that's like, even, just, you know,
yeah, you're thinking of players, like you do that conversation, and I just feel like there's like a but for all the players. Like I think of like when Cano and Granderson were really good at the same time, and clearly there's flaws there. Or like 2009, like Teixeira and like A-Rod, but A-Rod wasn't really A-Rod. And then you go back to when A-Rod was really A-Rod in 2007, but then, you know, there wasn't like the supporting player. I feel like here there is no but. Like, it's Aaron Judge, it's Juan Soto. And even 2018, like, Aaron Judge was Aaron Judge, but like, he wasn't this Aaron Judge. He was like Mach 1. And I feel like he has taken such a leap forward, both in terms of keeping himself healthy, in terms of just being a complete all-around hitter. And all respect to 2018 Giancarlo Stanton, but I think Juan Soto is a better hitter, and to have them both together, it's the vision. I agree with you. It's like what was intended, and it's actually carried out. But, and I like how you said it's the culmination, because I feel like, I mean, you know, I would kill for a time machine. I don't really want a time machine, but to go in the future 10 years, just to like, you know, see what like the narrative of Aaron Judge's career is like. Because I feel like there are two roads I see right now. One is a road I hope we don't go down. And I think people can put two and two together on what that is. But I think the other one is like, you know, the Don Mattingly figure. But once he got his supporting player, like that's when it really started to click. And not like the Yankees haven't been good, but I just see this vision of this year, and hopefully for more years. And I think that would be so exciting, both for like Aaron Judge, his career, what it means for his legacy, and just for where the Yankees go from here. And I think this is the first like set of like 2 weeks we've seen it born out. And it's awesome. It's just so fun.
It is great having Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. I don't wish it on anyone else, because I want them only to be Yankees for the rest of the games that they both play as major leaguers. But it sure is nice. Something that I forgot to say at the beginning, I couldn't find the game until just recently, but remember it was it was the beginning of May last year. There was a game that Cole pitched in which the Yankees went up 6-0 on the Rays and then lost.
Yep.
I remember I was making, I wasn't making dinner. during yesterday's game. Oh, I was making a snack. And Siri hit the grand slam, and I was immediately transported back to that game. And I remembered saying, like, when you give Garrett Cole a 6-run lead, you know, that's a game you need to win. And I think there was a lot of, you know, just last year nonsense that went into that game going the way it went. And of course, they ended up losing in extra innings because that's what the Yankees do on the road, and it's what many teams do on the road. But like, it was cathartic, I think, to see the Yankees go up big at the Trop, give up the lead, or not give up the lead in this case, but do their best to give up the lead, and then immediately punch back just as hard as they delivered the first punch and win the game comfortably. Like, sure, the Rays are not the team they were last year, but neither are the Yankees. And I was just so glad to see them. You know, they had an opportunity to fold, and it looked like they would, between what Ferguson, Birdie, and a batter of Luke Weaver looked like in that inning. But then Luke Weaver is, of course, nails, and just an unbelievable pitcher and apparently high leverage reliever. And that's really cool. And shout out to Matt Blake for making that happen. Shout out to the Yankees for figuring out that Luke Weaver could do that. But then for, you know, Glaber to come up and hit the home run, Trevino to add a home run, and then it's 10-5, and it doesn't matter that you give up a home run to Yandy Diaz in the 9th inning. Like, it made me very happy to see the Yankees do everything they could to lose a game and still win by 4.
Yeah. And I feel like that's, well, like yesterday, I had the same vision. I think I like texted you. I was kind of like in and out Mother's Day activities. I texted you up like, oh, we're, you know, padding run differential time. And then I checked back in, and now I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, I'm watching on my phone, watching Luke Weaver hit a guy going up 6-5. And then I tuned out. I'm like, you know what? Like, it's not worth it. Like, I've been here before. My day's just going to be better. I turned back at like 20 minutes later. I was like, oh, okay. Like, I guess that didn't really happen. And you're right. Like, I think last year, the feeling of inevitability, like, whatever that's worth, you know, I think some of it is just vibes, but a lot of it is that's different guys on the team, and they're, you know, different guys are hitting different ways this year. And I think this year's team's offense is clearly better than last year's team. So for me, it was like, they just have the weapons to withstand something like that. And last year they didn't. Like, last year was get the 6-run lead, hold on for dear life if anything goes wrong. I think that's, I'm willing to, I mean, I'm all about vibes. I'm all about, you know, it's not last year, but I just think it shows the offensive depth when you have, you know, you have Gleyber Torres, your worst hitter this year, but he's still Gleyber Torres and able to do something like that. And, you know, Jose Trevino just really hitting really well this year. You just have like the array of weapons to use, and it's not relying on getting to Judge's lineup spot, or, you know, getting to Judge and Torres's lineup spot. So I think like this weekend was a tough series. You said the Rays are not the same team they were last year, but they played the Yankees really tough. Like,
yeah, and it's hard to win at the Trop.
It's hard to win at the Trop. Friday's game was a nail biter, and yesterday's game turned into a nail biter. It seemed like an easier 2 out of 3, but I think watching those games, like, it does show that like this team is it's a diverse attack, and sometimes you lean on the pitching, sometimes you lean on the offense. It reminds me of 2022 when like they were clicking on all cylinders. Like this recent Yankees era, I think, has the pitching to be able to like go on these really nice runs and withstand stuff. You know, when the pitching falls, the offense will pick them up. I thought that yesterday was a great example of that. And that's what good teams have to do. Like, they're not going to have perfect bullpen games all year. You're going to need your guys to score 10 every once in a while.
And it's great to be a fan of a team that can score 10 every once in a while. Whipple, earlier in the season, we were concerned about some of the Yankees' quality of contact metrics, and then they started hitting the world famous home run all the time, including a season high of 5 in Sunday's game. Their xWOBA is now second in Major League Baseball, second only to that of the Dodgers. The Dodgers are at 354, which is ridiculous. The Yankees are at 341. which is quite good. It puts them ahead of the Braves. When you're ahead of the Braves in a quality of contact stat, you know you're doing something right. And this is in spite of the fact that, like, I think people think of the Yankees as having like a bunch of ex-WOBA darlings. But look, Giancarlo Stanton, as hard as he hits the ball, when he's not hitting it on a line and when he's striking out, those are not high ex-WOBA balls. So like he's at 314. Jose Trevino, you know, doing a good job pulling the ball in the air, certainly, as we saw yesterday, but like he's at 285. Gleyber Torres and Oswaldo Cabrera, 274. Trent Grisham, 272, but that's been moving in the right direction. Obviously, he also has the highest walk rate on the team. Want to point that out, 18.4%. John Birdie, 261. Like, the Yankees don't just have, you know, mashers who juice their expected stats. They have such a strong top end, though. Like, honestly, Austin Wells, who's been getting ridiculously unlucky all year, but the top two guys, Soto and Wells, walking more than they strike out and just demolishing the ball. And then Aaron Judge, that'll do a lot for you. I'm very glad to see their expected performance starting to line up with their actual performance. I'm excited to see them hitting the ball over the fence in fair territory for the world famous home run more often. I'm excited to see Aaron Judge getting going. Like, it feels like everything I was worried about on the offensive side from early in the season has kind of been assuaged. And that's really comforting. And of course, there are going to be people out there who say, well, let's see them do it against Baltimore. And look, I think that'll probably happen. The Orioles are a good team with good pitchers. And when you face good teams with good pitchers, it can be hard to score runs. People may notice it was hard for the Orioles to score runs on the Yankees. Like, that was also a hallmark of that series. But the Yankees are starting to hit some, they're hitting a lot of deep fly balls. And when you hit a lot of deep fly balls, you're going to hit a lot of home runs. You're going to win a lot of games. And I'm glad to see the Yankees adopting, embracing, and executing that strategy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it will be interesting to see how the offensive, the reinforcements, the cavalry will be deployed, because I think there's a lot of guys right now playing well, and not that there ever should be a question of like, where do we play this guy? Because it always works out. But
it does.
Right now, I mean, there's, talking about the offense, I think there will be some questions, but I think good questions to have. I'd much rather figure out where Jason Dominguez is going to slot in than, beg for him to come back, because Verdugo is just a black hole in left field. And
yeah, so the inimitable Ryan Jack NYY asked us on Twitter to discuss what we think happens when Dominguez is ready to come back, assuming people are playing the way they're playing. I'll go to you first, because I have definitely some thoughts on this.
Well, I just don't see them getting rid of any of the starting outfielders right now. And I think there's a lot of luxury with Dominguez to slow walk it. Like, there's absolutely no reason for him to be in this lineup right now. If he is, not no reason. There's no rush, no urgency. I think that's one of the best benefits, in my opinion, of the way they've started, both in terms of like the Cole rehab or Dominguez's rehab. Like, nobody is yelling for Dominguez to come and save the team. And that would have happened if
oh, sure.
Flip the record, if whatever, they're like 5 games below 500. It would be Dominguez needs to be back like in 2 weeks. So I think he does his rehab. I think he goes to AAA. I think he at least, like, they waited out a little bit. I don't think he's going to be like a September 1st call up, but I think this is going to be a very, very long rehab. I mean, we already see, like, it's 2 weeks of just DHing. So in my mind, I think in my mind, like, I just don't feel like Trent Grisham is like long for this team as long as everyone else is here. But I also think the Yankees have recognized that they have a very good fourth outfielder right now. So I think, like, if there's any way to get all 5 of them on the team, or like keep all 5 of them for as long as possible, I think that's where they go. But I don't think, like, there is no way that Dominguez is going to be an everyday starter on this team. I don't see it right now. Like, but like, stuff changes all the time. And I think, like, it's very easy for me to see how, he gets playing time with the promise of more. But I don't think it's going to be Dominguez comes back and, is playing like 5 to 6 days a week.
So a couple things. First, please put some respect on Trent Grisham's name. His WRC plus is 104 in his last 23 plate appearances. He only has 38 plate appearances this year. So
crazy. Like, that's, as someone who prides himself on his preseason predictions, I'm shocked that like I just completely missed the mark on like how much this team was willing to play him by like leaps and bounds.
Yeah, I never thought he was exclusively going to be a bench piece for them either. So definitely surprising. 21.7% walk rate in that span. As we mentioned, he leads the team in walk rate. I agree with you on Dominguez. I think we can absolutely bank on them slow walking the rehab, which, as we mentioned, starts tomorrow with multiple weeks of him exclusively DHing. Like, look, the bottom line is it's not clear, as you said, it's not clear how Jason Dominguez gets playing time on this team. Judge, Soto, and Verdugo play basically every day. And Stanton has been hitting very well. And when Stanton doesn't play, it's so that Judge can DH. So like the only opportunity that creates is you option Grisham, and I do think his options are relevant, and you put Dominguez in the Grisham role, but I don't think they like using Trent Grisham like he's 2023 Oswaldo Cabrera basically does not, to me, align with how it seems like the Yankees see Jason Dominguez. I meant using Jason Dominguez like he's 2023 Oswaldo Cabrera. I might have said Trent Grisham. If the Yankees are going to call up Jason Dominguez, I think it has to look like last year and be a situation in which they use him every day. I don't think we've seen them with a prospect that they really believe in call a guy up to sit on the bench. And it would be really weird for them to put Jason Dominguez in that situation. Now, Alex Verdugo had a really good start to 2023 and then fell off precipitously. What do you do if something like that happens? And then you have Trent Grisham and Jason Dominguez, and maybe you can, distribute time in a different way there. Like, you can invent a bunch of situations in which this works itself out. And as you said, these things always do work themselves out. But with everyone playing well, with Dominguez presumably on a long rehab, like, honestly, the answer here might be that Dominguez rehabbing effectively and showing the same ability that we expect him to show in the minors over the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, encourages the Yankees to explore a trade that involves Alex Verdugo or Trent Grisham to open up. Well,
I actually would bet money that they're not going to trade Verdugo.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to trade Verdugo, but like Dominguez getting healthy and playing well could create some flexibility for the Yankees to be a little creative with the roster. I don't know what that would look like.
I think they're scared,
and maybe that's how they open a spot for him, but like it doesn't feel like there's an obvious way to create playing time in the outfield or at DH right now. And that's tough. And honestly, like the tough part of that is moving Trent Grisham doesn't create it.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's not playing.
Yeah. I don't know what you do about it.
I think there is a 0% chance Verdugo gets traded. I solely think it is because they're not going to trade someone who disrupts the club. Like, I think if they trade him, it would be like a Montgomery effect. I don't think that matters, but I think what happened was like, it's the only time we've really heard Brian Cashman acknowledge that like, the move had bad vibes. I think people are very scarred by that. Like, for better or worse, I just don't see that happening. Which, you're right, then. If you trade Trent Grisham, that doesn't open up playing time because
it doesn't solve it.
It's you know what? If he doesn't play much this year, if he if the team is doing well and he doesn't play that much, like, I think that's fine. I don't know. He's 21. 22?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. He's 21. He will have just turned 22 at the start of next season. I think, the fact that the Yankees can, not re-sign Alex Verdugo and possibly trade Trent Grisham or keep him in this bench role and go into next year with an outfield that includes Jason Dominguez every day, maybe that's what they'll go for. Like, yeah, we're talking about a player who's very young, a player who is coming off major surgery, a player who, like, let's be honest, had a great couple weeks in the major leagues last year, but was not obviously ready to be playing Major League Baseball. And, I think I remember he was not projected like rest of season last year to tear things up even after the start he had. And his projections this year put him around league average, basically. Like, it would be very surprising if the Yankees called up Jason Dominguez and he just was 2023 Jason Dominguez and that's the player he is. That would be really surprising. So if anyone's treating it that way, like, relax. Yeah, I think probably the most likely way it gets dealt with is Jason Dominguez does not play very much for the 2024 Yankees if things continue to look the way they've looked.
Yeah, and they never do. That's the takeaway.
They never do. Exactly. So it's kind of pointless. Another question we got this time from And That's Baseball And That's BB on Twitter, and a terrific YouTube channel, I might add. Lefty relievers to target. I think people are a little scarred by the performance of Caleb Ferguson thus far. He's not given us a ton to work with or believe in. His ERA is in the 6s. His FIP is in the 5s. His xFIP is in the 4s. He's striking a lot of guys out, almost 11 per 9, but a lot of walks. He's had some bad home run per fly ball luck, but he's not keeping the ball down at all. Keeping the ball on the ground, that is, like, from a contact perspective, and that's really hurting him. Base runners, ball in the air, getting hit hard, don't like that. So I took a look, and Matt Moore has been a guy that I've been excited about for a while in these situations, and I would continue to advocate for the Yankees to explore a deal for Matt Moore. The Angels have no use for him. I think they only signed him to trade him anyway. Elephant in the room is he's been bad this year. His strikeouts are way down as compared to the last 2 years, and walks are up as compared to last year. And what's extra alarming is, like, he's gotten a super low BABIP, and he's still been bad. So, like, it hasn't helped, which is concerning. But I like what's there with Matt Moore, and I think under Matt Blake, he could easily recapture the guy that he was over 2022 and 2023. I just started looking at guys who have been really good in lefty-lefty matchups in recent years, and one name that kept coming up was Adrian Morejon. His obvious concern is health. He only pitched 9 major league innings last year, and like something like 40 innings overall when you include minor league and rehab. He has never really been super available, but he's been really effective in lefty-lefty matchups. This year, his strikeouts are way up, which is really cool. And walks are down, which is also fun. So I like what I'm seeing from him. Obviously, Padres could be in a position to contend, could need him. Brooks Raley of the Mets, who's been around Major League Baseball forever, is another guy who's been very good in lefty-lefty matchups. There could be, possibly something there, but elephant in the room with him is he's hurt right now and not close to throwing. So, I don't know what you do there. The Tigers have a couple of guys, Tyler Holton and Joey Wentz, who are really good in lefty-lefty matchups, but also have a good amount of team control. There are guys out there. The Cardinals have a few guys, Zach Thompson, Matthew Liberatore, and Packy Naughton, who may be hurt. Yeah, he's hurt. Who have been really good in lefty-lefty matchups. So there are a lot of guys out there. I'm not totally sure who would be available. And then the thing with the Yankees is always like they look for the Tommies Canely and Scotts Efros who are weapons against lefties, but are right-handed. So I may have been limiting myself a little bit by looking just at these lefty-lefty matchups. I may, the question may also have limited it a little bit because looking for lefty relievers, but like, I'm very confident in the ability of the New York Yankees to identify a reliever who we trust to get lefty batters out in high leverage situations. And I think the returns of Tommy Canely and Scott Efros will very much help in that they won't have to go to Caleb Ferguson in big spots as often. But also the spot they went to Caleb Ferguson for yesterday shouldn't have been so big. So maybe we're overreacting to it a little bit. Anyway, lots of arms out there, and I'm convinced the Yankees could make any of them great.
Yeah, another one I was thinking of was Andrew Chafin on the Tigers, who we
sure.
But
we have to consider, Joe Mantiply. If the Diamondbacks stay bad, Joe Mantiply. Absolutely sign me up. Joe Mantiply reunion. But he also doesn't strike a lot of guys out, and the Yankees might be looking for strikeouts in their bullpen. But yeah, the question with Andrew Chafin is, could he be successful without looking the way he looks?
Right. With the hair wise.
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like the whole Tigers team has like the Kirk Gibson, 1980s look going on. Or like you said, they all look like they're 10 years old.
Many of the Tigers look like small children.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting mix there. But yeah, I mean, there's some other guys out there. I think for me, it's I don't think the Yankees need two lefty. They've been comfortable with one lefty reliever.
Yeah.
And I feel like if one of Caleb Ferguson or Victor Gonzalez is good, I think with the guys you're talking about, they're comfortable just rolling with that. And I know Victor Gonzalez doesn't have the best underlying metrics savant page right now, but he's pitched better than Ferguson. I just don't feel like it's a priority, or at least it's a priority to, I think, help the pen, but I don't know if a lefty guy specifically is a priority.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's cool that they have two options, because usually, it's Wandy Peralta or Boone Logan or Chase Shreve or bust. And I feel like one of Ferguson or Gonzalez will be reliable. Already has been. I mean, I think Gonzalez has been good, but I do feel like Ferguson will be better. I
think Ferguson will be better.
I just think he'll be better.
Yeah, I agree. I think he now, maybe this is something that people said about Albert Abreu, so take it with a grain of salt if you have to, but I think Caleb Ferguson strikes out too many guys to be bad. In 2022 with the Dodgers, a season in which he had a 1.82 ERA and 3 FIP and 3.05 xERA, he was striking out 26.1% of batters and walking 12%. This year, he's striking out 25.8% of batters and walking 12.1%. So those are extremely similar. Now, there are some different things happening there too. In 2022, the contact he was getting was meaningfully weaker, almost never barreled. So the quality of contact stuff liked him a lot more. It was more often on the ground, but it was also more often a line drive. So there are puts and takes there. I definitely doubt that Caleb Ferguson is as bad as he's been, but again, with fastball velocity a little bit down, stuff numbers not looking great, I think it's fair to be a little bit concerned. But I'm not freaking out. I think he can probably effectively get outs. And as we said, Scott Efros and Tommy Canely certainly can.
Yeah, Tommy Canely is on the precipice, and I think this team needs him in the worst way. So I'm really excited for, sounds like it could be within a week or so. So especially with the Ian Hamilton shakiness continuing somewhat, I think he will slot right into a big role for this team.
Yeah, that would be very exciting for Tommy Canely to come back and be good. I think so. Last week on the podcast, I said that it's great when the Yankees are winning because nobody's out there moaning about accountability and how Aaron Boone is too soft on the team and doesn't hold guys accountable, whatever that means. I think accountability means that during Boone's press conference, he just shoots the guy in the face who made the error or struck out in a big spot or whatever. I think maybe that would satisfy people if after shooting the guy in the face, he was also sufficiently mean about that player and presumably like his family and his weight and his religion. Like maybe if Boone is disparaging enough after publicly murdering the guy, that counts as accountability. But anyway, I thought that we were done with that stuff because the Yankees were playing well, but apparently I was wrong. This is exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting, and it's a stain on Yankees fans that there are people that cannot watch this team succeed and play extremely well without having to act like something is terribly wrong. I can't stand it. The fact that there are people who are wired to have no fun watching the team and are hoping for them to collapse just so they can be right about how bad they are, like secretly, look, maybe I just can't relate to these people, but I don't see how that's fun. I don't see how they enjoy doing it. And I think it's embarrassing that you can be watching the team that has the most wins and the best run differential in the AL, and you can be saying that Aaron Boone needs to be fired and the players obviously aren't being held accountable. Like, what would the difference be? What would the difference be?
I think people need to understand that there is a difference between accountability when accountability might be warranted versus accountability when you are not happy with the player's performance. We have had this discussion, and as between the two of us, I'm more on the pro, accountability, like when players are playing poorly.
Whoa. We're both pro accountability. We're both pro accountability. The bottom line is when people say accountability, they don't mean accountability. They mean the manager comes out and says or does something that makes me feel better because my feelings are hurt that the player didn't do what I want.
Well, I'm saying there is a time and a place where I think that conversation can be discussed. The time and the place is a team struggling. The players are mailing it in. Clearly, like, it's not a question of performance. It's a question of attitude. And even then, I think that was when we had that debate last year. I think there's an argument that, yes, maybe something needs to be done. When players are playing, or when the team is playing well and one guy happens to be playing poorly, a guy who clearly is working really hard, a guy who has like dedicated his whole career to playing hard for this fan base, who wants to be a Yankee for life, whatever you think about Gleyber Torres, I've never thought that he is not trying to win. That is the wrong player and the wrong place to have the accountability argument. A player playing poorly does not mean that he needs to be publicly embarrassed. I don't think anyone ever needs to be publicly embarrassed, but accountability because you're unhappy and you want views for your live stream, like that clearly is just not correct. It's wrong. It's frustrating because then those people, like we said, don't come out and say, oh, I was wrong. It was like, oh yeah, like go Gleyber Torres. And that sucks. Like, that's not fun. Like you said, that's not a fun way to watch baseball. So if you want to have the accountability debate, let's at least have it at the right time, whether you think it's the correct way, whether you think Boone is handling it correctly or not. There is just no reason to have it at this time and place when this team is playing so well. Like in 2022, I think in 2022, it kind of ruined, I think, part of this fan base because it almost showed that like the best starts can be taken away. But also like that team had a lot of issues that did not involve players mailing it in, involving accountability. I think there were specific players on last year's team, like a Josh Donaldson, that pushed the envelope. But most of the time, a player is trying as hard as he can to fix whatever he's going through. And if the manager needs to take actions, I think that can come when the team is struggling, when the team is in their first or tied for first place, one of the best records in the league, beating teams left and right. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
The other thing with Gleyber is like, it's his walk year.
Right.
He knows the importance of performing in this year. It's not lost on him that there are tens of millions of dollars on the line for him based on how he plays this year. And the idea that if his manager doesn't bench him and publicly come out and shame him for struggling so much early in the season, he'll just assume that he should keep doing what he's doing. Like, what an insane, patronizing, stupid thing to believe. And as I've said, people don't want accountability because, and I've had discussions with people on Twitter who are, insisting on accountability. And this time I'm using, air quotes in a different way that I'm doing it for world famous home run. People just want to feel better about the team. They want to feel like their anger at a player is reflected by the manager's anger at a player. They're calling it accountability, but it has nothing to do with the definition of accountability. And the reason we know that is because if the admonishing comes behind closed doors, it doesn't count. We don't know what Aaron Boone is saying to people in the locker room after they make a mental error, or they run into an out on the bases, or they misplay a ball, or they, miss a sign, or whatever it might be. And people claim to, so that they can say Aaron Boone doesn't hold the players accountable, whatever that means, when really that's just code for, I wish the manager would come out in the press conference and be mad like I'm mad. And that's just such a ridiculous way to engage with baseball. And it's a shame because you know what I do when I watch the Yankees? I have fun. I wish that upon more people, frankly. I guess I didn't have as much fun last year watching the Yankees, but the point stands.
Aaron Boone does get mad in the press conferences when players don't do well. Like all of the second half of 2022 was him like pissed off in the press conferences. So it's not only people want him to be mad, it's people want him to be mad in the specific way that makes them happy that he's mad.
Yep. At the specific people that they want him to be mad at, and mentioning those people by name and levying the specific criticisms that they have of those people. Like, it's ridiculous. It's an impossible standard, and it's a ridiculous one to begin with.
And I think the last thing is, like, the players that a lot of people got mad at last year are not on the team. Like, for a better or worse, like, this team rid itself of guys who were polarizing, both, the way they acted, the way they played. And that's good. I'm glad they did that because those weren't very good players to begin with. So for
one of them is retired. One of them can't even retain a spot on the Angels and is a free agent. No clue who we could be talking about.
Right. Like, so if that helps you feel better, like, embrace that feeling that, like, this is a new set of guys and I'm not going to take last year's frustrations out on them. And again, that was different because last year, I think it was very fair to say, X, Y, and Z have been here and they're not earning their playing time. None of that's true. Everyone who's playing this year has largely earned playing time. The one guy who people want to be held accountable was the linchpin of this lineup for large portions of the last 2 years, has more than earned the benefit of the doubt to have more time to improve. And like you said, it's a walk year and he has a lot of personal stakes in this. And that's one person in a lineup of 9 plus bench players. Like, it's just ridiculous to me that, as if everybody is not hitting 300, the pitchforks are coming out for things that are not warranted. Like, you can be mad at what people did last year. I was mad at what happened last year. It's not last year anymore. This is totally a different team and the results bear that out. And if you don't see that, then I don't know where you're looking.
Gleyber Torres has a 98 WRC plus in his last 60 plate appearances, 69 on the year. Nice. But it's moving in the right direction and I'm happy about that. Yeah. It's insane. It's infantilizing. It's patronizing. It's ridiculous to imply that the only way Gleyber Torres could realize he needs to play better is by benching him like that. What an insane thing to believe. And I'm not saying you have to be a bad person to believe it, but I am saying that bad people probably believe it.
Right. I think the accountability, just one other thing, the stuff from last year, like, where was accountability? I feel like, in retrospect, now that we've all cleansed ourselves of, like, some of the players who were not playing well, it was kind of code for, like, I don't want them to play. And
it was code for I want the roster to be better.
Right. Part of that's like, oh, I don't like them. But a larger part is I don't like the way they play. And for Gleyber Torres, neither of those things are true when he's at his best, which I think it's trending in the right direction, and fingers are crossed.
Fingers absolutely very much crossed. Whipple, we're getting to the end here, which means it's time for confidence, which means we need to have you begin by rating your confidence in the New York Yankees, who are projected to win the AL East by Pacoda. Pacoda believes it's more likely than not that they will do so. Projected to win the AL East by the Fangraphs playoff odds. They believe that it's about a coin flip that they will do so. The team that has the highest WRC plus in the American League, the most wins in the American League, the best run differential in the American League. What is your confidence in this team as they go into Minnesota to start a series on the road?
Yeah, I'm going to go up to 9.5. I think some of the things that we've talked about are really, like we said, starting to click. A lot of, I wouldn't say easy wins, but,
comfortable wins.
The majority of the wins from this week we had a little more breathing room, even with the semi collapse on Sunday, I think. And that's a function of the offense hitting better against some good teams like Houston, Tampa Bay. I see the records. I still know it's Houston and Tampa Bay. And like the biggest thing I think that boosts the confidence rating is the reemergence of Aaron Judge, paired with the, already existing dominance of Juan Soto, paired with the rest of the offense starting to click, and a pitching staff that's been lights out all year. I mean, the pitching staff coming back down to earth a little bit is just so far less concerning to me than the optimism I feel from the offense getting better. And that pushes my confidence up. And I think the Yankees, maybe, okay, some people might say we got to see it against Baltimore, but there's a lot of games between then. And the way the Yankees can play, I think they can be in a very good position where like those games are not, they do or die games. Like I think they can beat Baltimore in, the not head-to-head record, but the record that each of them has outside of their head-to-head games. And then it really doesn't matter what they do head-to-head. So I'm excited to see where, this goes in the next few weeks, but I think they're finally kind of rounding into form of the team that we knew that they could be.
Yeah, my confidence is also going to go up. I don't remember if I was 8 or 8.5, but I'm going to 9. They've just been hitting the ball over the fence a lot, and that's something I wanted to see from them. I have faith in the pitching staff. They have some tough games on their way. At Minnesota is no small task for them. Then they get the White Sox, thankfully, but then they're hosting Seattle. Seattle has a phenomenal pitching staff. Then they're going to San Diego. That's tough. The whole West Coast trip is always, difficult nonsense. Like the Yankees will be challenged plenty this year, but I like the way that they have handled the challenges of the first 42 games. I like that they've done it, almost entirely without Gleyber Torres, for a time without Aaron Judge being Aaron Judge, for an entire time without many key pieces of the bullpen, without Garrett Cole. I'm just very pleased with the way that the guys on the team have executed in the face of a lot of factors going against them. And of course, you never know what's going to happen in a season. Obviously, important players can get hurt and derail your season, or important players can have their best career year and really, propel your season. And there's still, 140 or 120 games left for all of that to play out. And, far be it from me to tell you that I know how those are going to go. But this team has shown me, I would say, with the exception of maybe some swing and miss on the pitching staff, everything that I could possibly have wanted them to show me. And to be lower than a 9 at this point feels like an insult to what they've done and to my perception of who these guys are as players. So I'm going to be at a 9, and I'm excited to see what they can do this week in Minnesota and then home against the White Sox.
Well said.
So with that, any parting shots from you?
Yeah, so I don't know if there's a Yankees Files contingent that analyzes the backgrounds of our where we are at different times, but I am, as the diehards will see, I'm not in Williamsburg anymore. I'm in New Jersey and soon to be living in New York for the first time in my life. So
hell yeah, brother.
I'm going to Yankees White Sox on Friday to kick off a summer of going to some Yankees games, and not having to like plan a whole weekend out of it. So I'm really excited about that. Excited to go to Yankees Dodgers in a few weeks.
Oh yeah.
About Yankees Orioles after that. So it's really the summer. It's the summer of turfs for one thing. But for me, it's the summer of just going to some baseball games and, remembering some guys, drinking some beers at Yankee Stadium. Like that is the essence of baseball. So excited to kick that off this week, and then some good times to come. And the way the season's shaping out, it will be, I think, lots of good times to come. And
hey, you think we should go to the Saturday game, last series of the first half down in Baltimore, against the Orioles? You think we should go to that?
Yeah. Wait, what'd you say?
The Saturday game, last series of the first half, Yankees at Orioles. You think we should go?
See, I think that, your
you
wedding
busy that day?
It's in the afternoon, but you get a plane, you get there that night, and you probably make it back by, the end of your reception. Like, come on. I mean, you want to go to the reception or go watch some pennant race baseball in Baltimore?
I hope I have good enough reception to stream the game. Hey.
But yeah, it will be, I think it'll be a super fun summer. And know this, the second that we know the date, the time, the place, well, we probably already know the place, the date and the time that Garrett Cole will be returning from the injured list, I will be there on a moment's notice. If it's by myself, I do not care, but hear this, fans. I will be there in the stands, tears streaming down my eyes, a long way away from that dark day in March when we got the Twitter notification Garrett Cole needs elbow MRI. And that's when I know that I will truly have made it in New York City. And that's my parting shot.
And you know what they say, if you can make it there, you'll make it anywhere.
I saw the tear you were wiping away.
All right. So that wraps things up for episode 109. 109. Can you believe that? Of the Yankees Files podcast. As always, you can keep up with everything we do at YankeesFiles.com. You can follow us on Twitter, where we're at Yankees Files. Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts, with the added bonus of video if you're watching or listening on Spotify. Whole video podcast is also available on our YouTube channel, where we're at Yankees Files as well. If you enjoyed the podcast, we hope you'll rate, review, subscribe, download, do all the things that make the podcast look really good. If you don't like it, we hope you still listen to it, and then don't leave any negative feedback anywhere, because we don't have any time for that. We'll be back similar time, similar place next week to recap the week that was against Minnesota and the White Sox. And until then, let's go Yankees.